agreement for the purpose of purchasing 2.93 acres of land on the Heber Parkway within the runway protection zone of the Heber City Airport. This would just make application to have that purchase reimbursed from the FAA when the grant money becomes available. So this is kind of the first step in getting reimbursed when that purchase occurs. I will indicate that the grant amount that was put together by the engineers is probably higher than what we'll need, especially if we don't anticipate demolishing the building. So what will happen is once all the costs are identified and the FAA has authorization to issue grants, we'll just have a grant issued in the exact amount of what the reimbursement is that the city would require.
Grant application, we're going to keep the building as it was, and using that money to make improvements to the building to make.
I would not think so. But it doesn't preclude the city from doing that if they still wanted to, I think.
Council, any further questions on item number 5 on the grant application?
May I ask a question, please?
Heidi, you have the floor.
Thank you. I thought we were going to remove the demo and the removal of the buildings on site. I thought we were going to keep those buildings for storage, and I see that it's still on this grant.
It is. The application was drafted, but if we end up not doing that, which I think is the intent now, we just won't request any reimbursement for that. Or we could take that out of the grant application as well. It won't affect the outcome either way.
So are we going to be paying that $69,000? Is that the total amount, the $69,786? Is that coming out of the airport fund or the general fund?
It would come out of the airport capital projects fund.
And we have
yes,
money
that's
there already?
Yes.
And will it be that much if we can reduce the costs?
No, if any reduction in what the total grant amount is would greatly reduce our percentage by 4.685% of whatever the costs are below what's shown there.
Okay, one more question, please. Once this land is purchased, are we going to be able to spend some money out of the airport capital improvement fund to spruce up the property, fence the property, water the property so it's not such an eyesore?
I think fencing the property would be grant eligible if that's what the council wanted to do. Beyond that, I don't know what would be eligible as far as to make the property more attractive. One of the things you have to be cautious of, if you make it, you don't want to make it attractive to birds to frequent. Because we don't want birds, things that would attract birds in the runway protection zone.
Really? Birds?
Yeah, birds.
Birds.
I'm concerned about people, Mark, not just birds.
Well, I'm just saying that airplanes and birds don't make a good match.
Yes, I'm teasing. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be silly.
So we can't plant seed, bird seed?
I think there are some things that we can do there. What would be federally grant eligible, I don't know the extent of it. I think those are things we can discuss in the coming months, and if they're grant eligible, the FAA is within the parameters of this grant, the FAA may do it. But I can't promise that.
So the property could be used for other aeronautical purposes? We've got to go to the FAA, or because we as a sponsor put a low-lying hangar or something there? I mean, what else can we do with it other than, weeds or bird seed? I mean, if we just let it go to weeds.
I don't perceive that the construction of additional buildings would be something that would be deemed compatible, even though certainly those would be occupied by people at any point in time. I've talked to the FAA about the building on site being used for storage purposes, and they're fine with that, provided there isn't somebody that maintains an office there. And there's some usable space there that I think we put to use.
Well, Mark, can we see a final version though, before we vote on this? I'm concerned about the changes and the final total.
What changes would you want to make, have made? To eliminate the demolition of the building, the structure?
Yes.
Or you want to put in
Yes,
fencing?
and I'd like to know the total figure, given, the final total figure, unless you think that it won't change. I thought that it would, since the cost would not be as high.
Well, it should go down. I mean, we know the actual cost for the land purchase, and we will have some expenses for the engineers assisting with the paperwork, the pay request, the grant application, etc., and that's limited to $7,500. We no longer need a phase 1 environmental. The survey's been done, so other than those two things, I don't know of any other costs unless the council wants to fence the property. It sounds like we don't want to demolish the building, so that wouldn't be a cost that we would incur.
They're going to keep the money, but
Yeah, this is kind of a worst case number, but once we have all our costs identified, they'll issue the grant for whatever the identified costs are. It'll be less than what's being applied for. Our portion would go down proportionally.
So that's what I'm concerned about. I'm not sure, I know we want to move quickly on this, but I thought we would have a final document, even with those things taken out and a final cost.
Well, we don't right now. We're just, if the council wants to delay submitting the application until we know what the exact costs are, we can do that. We're just trying to get positioned where we're able to get reimbursed once the FAA has their authority to issue grants. I don't think that changing the application will have any impact on the outcome.
When will you have a final document? Tomorrow?
Well, this is a proposed final document. If you want, you have specific things that you'd like changed in it, like
let's bring it back to the council, Mark, just before we come to the document is.
Well, I had some other questions, maybe regarding the document as it is, but maybe before we get to that, I want to be careful because we did have an executive session. But the final number to me seems somewhat, 1,000 here, 1,000 there, higher than what I was seeing when we had the number of what Maverick had paid and what the things they wanted, what the cost would be. I guess specifically I want to be sure we're not double paying. I know originally there was discussion of an earnest money amount, and that was being added on top of their purchase price. Recognizing though that the earnest money is part of the purchase price, I don't want to double pay them for earnest money. And I guess it come in higher than I thought it was going to be, and I wouldn't mind seeing a breakdown even if it was in confidence. I don't know how much of what we heard we can't discuss, but it came in higher than I thought.
I think it's public information. The land will be purchased for $1,382,000. The maximum we pay on engineering fees is $7,500. I don't anticipate anything needed for the demolition and removal, and I don't know that there's going to be any reimbursable administrative expenses. This was kind of just a worst case scenario that the engineers put together and give us some wiggle room if some other things came up. But I don't anticipate that number is going to creep over $1.4 million.
So the difference though between the 1,382 and the engineering is other considerations to Maverick for doing this, right?
No, the consideration of Maverick is all within the $1,382,000.
Okay.
There's nothing in addition to that.
The other questions I have are specific to the grant. Just a couple of things I highlighted. You're the one that's kind of reviewed this, but I just want some clarification. It kind of goes back to the last meeting and comments about zoning and what maybe should have been done around and whatnot. But in part 2, item 5, it said, is the proposed project, which is the purchase, covered by an approved comprehensive plan? And item number 9, will the assistance requested cause the displacement of individuals, families, businesses, or farms? Seems like it did. And will the compatible land use, the sponsor has taken the following actions to assure compatible usage of land adjacent to or in the vicinity of the airport. Heber City has a compatible land use plan in place. Frankly, it seems like we didn't. We didn't have adequate zoning to preclude the Maverick, therefore the wish on FAA's part and the rest of this council that we pay $1.4 million for it. And now we're signing that we've got all these things in place. We haven't done a thing since last meeting. And so I just question maybe those items, if that's really true when we say yes, yes, yes to those 3 items.
Well, there is no ongoing business there.
But this addresses the whole airport area. It doesn't just say right there.
Well, no, I'm saying with the acquisition of that part, one of those issues was, is there an active business on the property that's being displaced? The answer is no. There's a vacant building, there's no ongoing business that's being operated out there.
Okay, maybe we ought to take them one at a time. Will the assistance requested cause the displacement of a business? Yes.
The answer is no.
Well,
There is no business there.
well, because we're going to buy it out from under.
No, it's an abandoned building that there's no ongoing business.
We are buying it from Maverick, right?
Yes, we are.
And if we didn't, what would be there?
Well, what would be there and what is there is 2 different things. There's no
Would
business.
it cause the displacement of a business if we buy it?
No, because there's no active business there. I understand that there was a desire to put a business there, but from as I understand it, there was no business on the property at the time the land was purchased that would be displaced.
I won't belabor it a whole lot more, but they had planning commission approval for a business. If we didn't buy it, the business would occur. We bought it from Maverick, not the prior owner. So I'll just make that statement. Is it covered in the vicinity? Have we got assurances of compatible usage of the land adjacent or in the vicinity of the airport? And I guess that's the one where I think we've talked about it. I heard it talked about 2 months ago. We talked about it last meeting. I haven't heard any comments from planning commission, council, work meeting, anything to look at all the rest of the property that could have the same kind of problem. And I don't think we've looked at the zoning adjacent to the airport. This doesn't specify this exact only piece of land, so.
Nothing's been done since we last spoke. We do have an airport overlay zone that's adopted by Wasatch County that does have some limitations within it, which are more far-reaching than just Heber City boundaries. And we have, we own property and we have easements, but we obviously, they weren't adequate in this situation.
Okay, well,
So I think we could look at that further.
it talks later on about public hearings, and it seems to have indicated that maybe one should have been held on this. Item number 7.
I don't know the specific language that you're referring to there.
In projects involving the location of an airport runway, major runway extension, so forth, they have been afforded the opportunity for public hearings for considering the economic, social, environmental effects, and so forth.
So that would occur every time we do an airport layout plan update.
So why is it in here then? Might it have been, it seems to be suggesting it be done on this acquisition of 1.5 million.
I don't think that that's the intent. I think it's, before the city adopts a master plan, they go through these processes. And that's the process we'll go through again if there's any modifications to the existing airport layout plan.
council can consider if they are concerned, I won't need to worry about it letting them close. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else in the council like to make a comment? Anybody from the audience like to make a comment?
I have a quick question. How do we know what the intent is? Like some of those things I would have to say, I would agree. I'm just wondering, how do you know what the intent is?
Well, I think the process that's being described in item 7 is the process that we have to follow when we update the airport layout plan. I mean, we already have an established airport, we're not creating a new one.
So because it says if it's involved in the location, airport, or a major road extension, you're saying that's not what we're doing, so that doesn't apply.
I don't think so, but we have held public hearings every time we've updated the airport master plan that would talk about changes in the configuration of the airport or uses within the airport in certain areas.
Yeah, this specifically states that in projects involving the following: location of an airport runway, or a major runway extension.
So that wouldn't apply, but it just says yes down there, like yes.
It's none of those.
Heidi, did you want to comment?
Thank you. May I just point out on page 16, item 9, exclusive right. There is no grant of an exclusive right for the conduct of any aeronautical activity at any airport owned or controlled by us. Again, that's something that Mr. Critton has talked about. I'm very concerned about it too, that we realize what we're signing here. We cannot grant an exclusive right. And again, that ties back to the second FBO discussion. I just wanted to mention it again here. And then Mark, on page 17, if you would take off the $20,000 for demolition removal, unless there is something that we do want to remove there. I don't know of anything to remove there, but, you know, do you have anything that you want to suggest that we remove some money there?
You know, Heidi, I haven't inspected the building closely. Obviously, the building, the eastern end of the building is more finished than the western part. You have an open storage there. The other has garage doors and an office. So I think the city, it would probably be well to have some time to go and inspect the facility and really see if what its condition is, to make sure that it all has value to it. If portions don't have value, we ought to want to remove it.
Well, see, that is the point. That might be an excellent salt storage place. I don't know, with just maybe a little modification. You know, it really does. We really need to know these kinds of things before we just pass it one way or the other. Should we get Wes down there to inspect it?
So I guess what I would suggest is, I think I would recommend that we leave the application as is. It gives us more flexibility to make those kind of decisions in the coming months as we get better acquainted with the property and the building, than to remove them right now because we think we may not need them. And at the end of the day, if we don't use all the funding that's being requested, that's fine. But if we don't have legitimate expenses to request reimbursement, then we won't request them.
Well, is the state going to give us any trouble then with not having exact figures for their share, their $69,000 share?
No, these grant amounts are typically what they expect the project to cost. If it comes in under, they're happy. If it comes in over, we have the ability to amend them upwards of 15% typically, if there are unforeseen conditions that exist. So that's the maximum, I guess, exposure that we have is that for some reason, if we accept a federal grant and the costs exceed 15% or more than what the grant was for, we may have some challenges.
Okay.
But we've never had a situation to where we were on our own above a certain grant amount to cover 100% because the project was over budget.
Council, any more questions?
Okay.
Not put before the council what they'd like to do with the grant application with the FAA.
You still take comment from
Oh, yes, sure, excuse me. I asked what to see your hand up, sorry.
a couple of comments. Seems like if you don't have in writing all of it, you're talking about how it seems like you can put it on the report that you can see about this thing. Number one, I guess my biggest concern is, as I understand it, once you take money from the FAA, then you're obligated to their requirements for another 20 years. And that gives me a great deal of concern.
Anyone else in the audience like to make a comment or statement on this side? Turn it back to council, what they'd like to do with the grant application.
We're not in any rush, right? We have time, so if we were to wait until the figures
Yeah.
are accurate.
We can wait. I don't think they'll start writing grants until probably April at the earliest, if that would make the council more comfortable. I can visit with the FAA and see if, how long in advance before they have grant rating capability they'd like to have the grant application. But I don't think if the council's not comfortable moving forward tonight, I don't think it harms us.
I'd really like to get that building inspected first, so we know better really what we're getting into and any cost that might be involved there.
Understand that I think the only thing the FAA would participate in is the cost to demolish. They're not going to give us any funding to improve the building.
Okay.
But if there were portions that we wanted to demolish, I'm sure they would assist us.
Thinking on this one?
I'll just make a motion that we, what's the word I'm looking for? Continue. I knew it was a table. I will make a motion that we continue the approval of the FAA grant application until we get a little more information.
Motion, Councilmember
Oh,
Paul.
okay. I need to be more specific about what information you want. We'll get to the next meeting, the next work meeting.
Motion, Councilmember Potter, to the continuation on the grant application of the FAA, looking for more information, we'll put it back in the work.
Actually,
If
maybe it
we're back
doesn't
to work,
need to be
we'll
more
go through some detail again, I'll send it back out. Your second for most, I think,
Is that to move, continuing it to another regular meeting?
I said work meeting, but I suppose,
Yeah,
I don't have problem putting it to the regular meeting.
I'll second that.
So you made the motion to go to a regular meeting.
Okay.
The second by Councilmember Bradshaw. Any other discussion on the motion that's been stated? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.